to burn. I'm going to set this up here. A view of the sky. There we go. Pope to Burns, the Columbia University ones. Yeah, it's one of our favorite book series. Highly suggested by a lot of people. Yeah, the history throughout. And I know there's some different ones when you start getting into some of the poetry and the Iranian history. It's just amazingly beautiful. And it's when you kind of put that into perspective and think how that was all going on. People were writing these amazing poems over in Iran before America was even discovered, you know? Iranian poetry is really beautiful. Some in class think that's really funny and make jokes because they didn't realize a lot of those things, yeah? Well, yeah, and then you start to understand what a lot of people were talking about over the years growing up. They're not teaching people the proper history and understanding. Makes a lot of sense when you start understanding those geographic things, religion, syndicated markets, the psychos around here taking advantage of a lot of the grants and funding to keep an eye on us crazy people and investigate our cartel families. Yeah, you psychos need to wake the F up. And people around here need to help our children in the hands of these punks. Proper authorities, whoever that is. So yeah, Iranian poetry is a foundational pillar of Persian culture, renowned for its profound exploration of love, mysticism, and ethics through rich metaphor and structured verse. Spanning over a millennium, it features iconic figures like Rumi, Hafez, Saidi, and Ferdowsi, with classical forms like the Ghazai, which is a lyric, and Rubai, quatrain, remaining deeply embedded in daily life, literature, and art. So yeah, it's going back a little ways there. That's a fun one to do for class. Yeah, you can get lost in that for quite a while with so many different writings. It's intoxicating sometimes just to kind of read. Sometimes we do role play or improv. Sometimes we just like to read to ourselves or do out loud readings. It's deeply ingrained in the Iranian society, frequently used in daily life, political speeches, and even fortune telling, with classics remaining understandable to modern speakers. Is that still recording there? Yeah, I'm just checking this. All right. Yeah, I just had to check it on that one because I'm using my laptop over here. You're welcome. All right, we are on, let's see, page 6. A satirical vein pervades also the work of the outstanding poet of the first half of the century, Alexander Pope. His satire has, this is not Iranian poetry, no, this is Pope to Burns, this is a different book. We're just reading the introduction. Pope to Burns, and the front of this one here is Gulliver in the land of the Lilliputians. Yes. Right, so just to give you an idea on this book, there's Thomas Chatterton, James McPherson's Ossian, Kol Nadona, The Death Song of Ossian, Ossian, Thomas Gray, some good ones there. William Collins, Critical Essays, How Sleep the Brave, The Passions, Ode on the Death of Thomas. You want to read those? Well, that's in the 300s. We're on page 6. A satirical vein pervades also the work of the outstanding poet of the first half of the century, Alexander Pope. His satire has not the bitter energy and fierce indignation of Swift. It is more superficial and woppish, but there is no doubt of his high intelligence or of his supreme skill as a maker of verse in his own somewhat limited field. He sums up his work, all the characteristics of the period. He sums up in his work all the characteristics of the period. The superficial glitter and high polish of his poetry are the expression in literature of the fine manners and the elaborate dress of the day. There is little of the subjective note in his work, little analysis of emotion, little interest in the deeper affairs of the heart or in permanent ideals of life. His poetry is dominated by what has been called the tyranny of the epithet. The exact word, the appropriate phrase, the apt allusion, all of these are thought worth striving for. True wit is nature to advantaged dress. What oft was thought, but never so well expressed. It's a little phrase there. True wit is nature to advantage dress. True wit is nature to advantage dress. What oft was thought, but never so well expressed. Eye of the